Hey guys, before we start the pod, a quick word from our sponsors at Mortgage Choice. There's a lot of noise in the property market, buying, selling, capital gains, leverage. There's a whole bunch of stuff that is quite confusing. I take the guesswork out by working with the team here in South Melbourne at Mortgage Choice. I have worked personally with Paul and Ben at Mortgage Choice. They have been incredible to work with. They helped me with my own family home, and I recommend they help you with yours too. So there you have it, guys. I highly recommend you check out Mortgage Choice. Hey guys, welcome back to the Hear Me Roar pod. I am Tobi, and my co-host is none other than the Kate Save, which you might know her from Shark Tank. She's also founder of BeFit Foods and picked up Telstra's Business of the Year award too. Kate?
Well, Tobi, you've got a super impressive CV, 25 years in global commercialisation experience, and you founded Creative Cubes, Australia's leading co-working space and real estate business.
All right, let's get on with the pod. Kate, I didn't surf in here this morning.
I was just thinking about my holiday in Bali coming up, and that is the first time my children actually learnt to surf. And do you know what was so amazing about it is I've surfed since I was younger. I'm not fantastic at it, but grew up near Gunnedah and did not realise how treacherous that was until I was an adult. But as a kid, had no fear. Yeah. And I think watching my kids learn to surf and forgetting very quickly until you're on that wave, that fear of, going down the face of the wave, that drop, that trust element. And wow, I'm looking forward to doing it again.
So we have got an amazing guest coming up. But before, we're going to throw to a quick break from one of our sponsors. Guys, I want to introduce you to Rise, a business cohort like no other. So what is the Rise Network? Rise Network is a curated inner circle of 10 to 12 like-minded peers designed to provide a confidential, high-trust environment where business owners and leaders can gain strategic insights, actionable solutions, and lasting relationships. Rise isn't just networking, it's a game-changing business support system. It has strategic problem solving built in, expert facilitation, actionable insights, long-term impact and authentic relationships, and it's based exclusively around high-trust cohorts. For your membership, you gain full access to Creative Cubes. That means you can drop in when you're on the run to use the meeting rooms, breakout spaces, or even just dock in for the day. We wanted to serve the underserved, the people that do need the help, do need the support, don't necessarily have the funds to be able to do it, and don't necessarily fit into one of these other organizations. And so that's where Rise kind of came from. So there you have it, guys. Go to werise.au, and I hope to see you at one of our cohorts soon.
Welcome, Matt. Thanks for joining us on the pod today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Now, you've given Tobi a bit of background. I have read your book, which, well, I'm halfway through. I lie. I'm halfway through.
He actually gave me a book, so I'm going to read it as well.
Yeah, well, can you tell our audience just a little bit about your background?
So I'm blind. It's probably a good story. I try to end with that, but I'll just end up starting with that. I had full vision until I was 5, lost my vision. My parents were basically told that I was going blind, that I would never play sport, never have many friends, never get an education, not really have a job, and my life was essentially over. My parents listened to that diagnosis. They didn't listen to the prognosis. Mm-hmm. And so they basically set this foundation up for me through my life where I was told there's no such thing as can't. I was left in able-bodies in mainstream school, which kids in the 80s, I grew up in the early 1980s, kids with disabilities didn't go to mainstream school. So I went through mainstream schooling, played rugby league, played rugby union, played ice hockey all to representative level, so I was pretty successful in sport, and then basically lost my way. So I lost sport, my whole identity was linked to sport, ended up in building this whole identity around other people's perceptions, so pub fighting, chasing chicks, all the things that I thought my mates was cool with my mates, and just ended up in a really bad place in life. And then And then
I do
found
remember
myself-
that bit in the book. You said you found yourself coded in a pool of blood and you didn't know whose blood that was. Is
Yes.
that right?
Yeah.
That's wow.
That was sort of the low point. And there, yeah, from there, I just basically went through life. I've had a pretty successful business career, but was sort of on autopilot until I really wanted, the thing that sort of moved the needle was I wanted to have a wife, I wanted to have kids, I wanted to have a family like I grew up in. And that just wasn't happening. I was continuing to make excuses about the relationships that I was in and the failures, and it was obviously everyone else's fault. It wasn't mine. And that wasn't linked to the child that as a child, I was really big on accountability and doing the work and turning up and contributing, and I sort of slipped out of that. So I basically...
And your parents put that in you, didn't they? The way
100%.
they raised you.
Yep.
And just from what I know in the book, it sounds pretty hard. Like your dad had you using a drop saw or something. And
Yep.
I was like, yeah. My girls, I'm not sure I'd ever put them near them. And like him having that, teaching you everything.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, I mean, and that came down to, and it's the title of my new book is Why Not? And I think people, it won't be a surprise to everyone to hear, my parents said there's no such thing as can't, because a lot of people, well, my parents said that too. The different thing that my dad did mainly, and both my parents, was that instead of saying, yeah, there's no such thing as can't, they'd actually say, when I'd say there was a problem or I can't do something, they would say, why not?
Ah.
Love it.
And so, for example, I can't hit it, like say, okay, we're going to nail this, put this nail through a piece of timber. Well, I'm blind, Dad. I can't do that. Well, why can't you do that? Why not? So then you say, well, because I can't see the nail. Okay, so it's not a I can't I can't use the hammer problem. It's a I can't see the nail problem. So how do we solve the I can't see the nail problem? I can feel the nail. Okay, so then we just go through why not, and when you get really specific on your problem, then you start finding the solution.
Oh, amazing. I can see how that works in the workplace. You get someone going, I don't know how to do that.
So I just want to just back it up for a split second. I know big surf waving is what you're most known for, but actually coming on the pod today, and whilst there's going to be hundreds of thousands of listeners, I'm still blown away that you, as a blind man, surfed Nazare, big 5-foot story waves. Like, I understand the
50 foot, 5-story buildings.
yeah, blind.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just some context there for the listeners out there. A 50-foot or 5-story building blind in Nazare, and he's out there surfing. I have a great, and I could never do this with my eyes closed, but like I have a great appreciation for feeling the swell. So I'm curious to know, like, is it every other sensor that is working well takes over, and the sight is sort of like a minute sensor by comparison to everything else?
Well, there's so many things that go towards surfing a 51-foot wave at Nazare. Like it's, yes, there's sense of using feel and whatever, and we could go into a whole thing about how I surf blind, but essentially I use feel. I can feel the ocean, but at Nazare I'm getting towed in, so I'm not feeling the wave until I surf it, but then I'm feeling it with my feet. So I use my cane to walk around the land. My board becomes my cane, basically, so I'm feeling my way through the ocean.
Yeah.
But then there's elements around... obviously, I've got a safety team. So I've got 4 jet skis in my team. I've got my tow driver. I've got a spotter up on the headland. We've got CB radios. There's lots of, like the execution might look seamless, but there's a lot of preparation. There's a lot of if you go into a meeting and you say the wrong thing and you might stuff up that project for a day. If one of us make a mistake in that environment, someone dies. So it's like we all need to be very, like everything we do has an element of safety, brand reputation. Like if one of us dies, it's not just about us dying and our families not having someone come home. It's also like we're professional surfers. All the guys that I surf with, that's their main income. If they kill the blind guy in the ocean, they're not re-signing their contract with Red Bull next year. So there's just pressure everywhere, and so we basically use a whistle. So the guys blow a whistle because I can't see to let go of the rope. So they blow a whistle, and I trust that they've put me in the right spot, and I pull the rope and drop down the wave. And
so I got to say, like, with the utmost respect, I think being blind is potentially a superpower, because I reckon going into that environment and looking at the size of those waves, I'd chicken out.
Yeah.
You can't see the size of the waves, so you've just had a crack.
Yeah, look, people say it to me, and I've just like I'm planning to. I've done, obviously I've had a successful career as a cyclist. I've won some world titles in surfing and cycling, and I'm just now doing free diving, which is holding your breath and swimming down in the ocean as deep as you can.
How far?
At the moment, I'm at 110 feet, but I'm planning to go over 200 feet by the end of this year.
Wow.
But
Is that the most dangerous sport that there is? Like, I feel like because you've got nothing. You've just got your lungs to get you up and down.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's lots of process, but we build safety, we build a lot of the processes around it. I've got my team in the water with me. They only come down to a certain depth because once they get down in the dark, there's no much point in them coming further. But I've got a lanyard attached to a rope that I'm going down, so if I become unconscious, they can pull me up. Okay. But all these things are capacities, they're things that you build elements around. But back to your point around blindness, people go, oh, well, it's easier for you because you're blind, so you can't see the risk. But actually, I still know the risks there, because if I'm just going into it blind, that's not high performance. That's just me doing crazy. Like, my team aren't doing that. We're not going to surf the most dangerous wave in the world blind. So it's, I get what you're saying, but it's actually more scary because I can't see. Like, I don't get to see the YouTube clip and go, oh, that's scary. I'm not going to go there. I don't get to sit on the headland and look at it and go, oh, that's scary. I have to go through all the risk elements with my team and then decide, we have the capacity to do this.
And trust someone else.
It's incredible. So actually wanted to talk on trust.
Yeah.
Because you've talked a lot about your team and you've talked about safety.
Yeah.
But I think safety is sort of like a byproduct of the trust that you've put in them.
Yeah.
To keep you safe, obviously.
Yeah.
There's a trust element, and I think that's a big part of your day-to-day today, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, look, I'm a keynote speaker and coach, mentor in business, and I've been saying to people for 15 years that I think trust is the most valuable asset that anyone can have in business, in any team.
Couldn't agree more.
I would do work with the Defence Force. I work with, if you talk about big logos, I probably work with most of them. But then people say they don't have it's built into a plan, but it doesn't actually have any metrics against it. No one knows how to build it. They talk about it being an asset, but then there's no formula. So through the process of writing this book, writing is obviously a way that we articulate solutions, and I had to break down and unlock a lot of things that I've done. So I've become a world champion in multiple sports now. I've had a successful business career. I've got these things that prove that my formula works. I've rebuilt myself in multiple arenas. So the formula works, but I didn't know what the formula was, because it's like walking. Like, if someone said to you, "How do you walk?" It's pretty hard to explain, right?
Yeah,
it is.
So we just build trust. We don't know how. But I've now, sort of through the process of the book, I built this formula, which is standards times consistency times time, and the times being a multiplication sign, which is was there on purpose. So if any of the variables, so standards times consistency times time, if any one of those three variables is zero, the whole thing's zero. There's no trust. Whereas if you have high standards, you do it consistently, and you do it over time, you build a trust mountain that's unbreakable.
Man, so it's exponential.
I couldn't agree more.
Multiplying.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah. And by the way, there's a lot of work that's involved in doing that, because time is probably the one thing that you can't move faster.
Yes.
Yeah. Consistency. Yeah. You're showing up every day.
Yep.
It's consistency times
what's the
standards.
Standards.
And the standards is the baseline.
Yes.
So you walk into a business, right, and I can't do the seeing part, but you walk into a business, and they've got these 3 values on the wall, your 5 values, whatever they are, right?
Yep.
They're essentially standards.
Yes.
Or they should be.
Yes.
But unfortunately, in most businesses, when you go around and talk to the people and you say, well, what are your values? They say, these are 3 values. Okay, great. What happens if you don't do that?
I get it. Yep, I get it.
It's not a standard, it's a wish.
Yes.
But if we talk about it as a standard, and we say these are our values, and these are the things that this is our baseline of this is where we'll accept and what we won't accept.
Yes.
That then becomes a standard.
Yes.
And then if your leaders treat everybody the same way, that's the consistency component. Like, you don't hold standards for one person one way and then another person another way. But then as a team, you can also have those. Like, I have standards meetings now with my team.
Yep.
So because people will complain, Tim keeps turning up late to Teams meetings. Well, what's late? Have we agreed what late is? Is it 2 minutes? Is it 5 minutes? Is it on time? I know when I was writing for Australia, our high performance director, you had to be 10 minutes early for a team meeting. If you were 9 minutes early, you'd get absolutely ripped in front of the whole team. Oh. But that was a standard we all agreed to.
Yeah.
So if you know what the standard is, it makes it, and people think, oh, that's really hard. That makes it harder, because we talk about psychological safety in business.
Yep.
I think a lot of people talk about psychological safety being a safe place and an inclusive place for us all to come to, and then through doing that, we lower standards. But actually by increasing the standards and having really clear lines around what is our standard, that makes it a safer psychological place because people know where the standard is. If you don't know where the standard is, it makes it really awkward and you don't know how to turn up or where to turn up or how to be consistent. So the high standards is more psychological safety. Yeah.
So
I was thinking of an example of that. I was in a business group and we've got forums, right? So different groups. And I've been in different forums. They have different standards.
Yes.
And what I found is in one of the forums that didn't really have the same level of standard, we all fell apart because the very first one I went into was so strict, like yours. Like you had to actually be 30 minutes early before the meeting started or the door gets locked and there's no opening the door to that person that is late. It's just, and the person who's late knows the door's not getting open. So, that was the standard. Whereas when those standards eroded or we're in a different group, we could try and put the standards out there, but nobody was upholding them. Yeah. So the whole group eroded because we had nothing. People had opened the door. We're like, oh, should we, shouldn't we?
I speak to James a lot about my superpower being consistency.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I actually think what you've done here is you've added a multi-dimensional to that. Yeah.
What are you being consistent at?
Personally?
Yeah. I'm just saying that's just a general question, but I think the standards element is what you're being consistent at, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And so I call my superpower is just that I'm consistent day in, day out at everything that I do.
Yep.
Yeah. But now you've added two more dimensions to that. Well, the one dimension is time, which is, hey, I'm consistent time in, time out for 25 years.
Yeah.
But actually the standard hasn't been a highlight for me historically. Standard is something that I've never actually spoken about, Kate. It's just been this is what I do and how I do it at this level, whether it's up or down is irrelevant.
Yes.
But it's not been a highlight. And so you've shone a huge light on that.
And that's the difference between individual goals and leadership and teams, isn't it? Because individuals, you can have your own standards and whatever else, but as a team, you have to have a shared standard. Otherwise, you can't have consistency.
Yeah. Right. And that will come down to, you might agree with like I do these standards meetings now, like we're going into a new project, like what are we all going to agree that our standards are? Because then everybody knows what the standard is. Yeah. But then if you're you're doing something with another, like a stakeholder, like a different department or another business, you will agree with those what the standards are within that partnership, and that might come into like your agreement. Like it might be the written agreement, but then verbally you need to have that agreement as well. And when you do that, it sets everybody up for success. Yeah. And to your point where you said about getting there half an hour earlier, I can guarantee you felt more psychological safety in the place where that you knew what the standard was.
Absolutely.
And the whole team had more trust with each other.
Yeah, because you were organised, because there was no change in standard. And I think once we set the rules in the new forum, but the standard wasn't there, that's how it eroded, because you then have the guilt of changing the standards for one, not another, and it's not fair and it's not equal and it just doesn't work.
I think this is a huge highlight.
I love it.
Yeah, and for me, respectfully, Matt, I never really paid attention to standard. I thought of standard as sort of like leading by example, but actually setting the tone, then the consistency, and then applying it over decades or time or whatever the value of time is.
Yeah.
Is where trust is built.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we talked a lot now we're talking about teams and people and leadership, right? Mm-hmm. But when we're leading, we're talking about we've got products or there's something that we do, right? If you look at the product, like if you talk about Apple, for example, they have trust in their product because if you think about they have consistent standards in their product.
Yep.
They've done it over a number of time. So people trust the product.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it sort of applies across all landscapes.
In business, they say it takes 40 years to become an overnight success.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think that's a time element. If you're consistently showing up, you'll definitely pull your audience you might be a miss as well, right? You might not be a market fit, but that 40-year overnight success example is a real highlight from what I'm hearing from you, Matt. Mm.
So tell us a little bit about the book. If people are wanting to read the book, I've read the first half, which is a lot about your story and your journey. So I can now, with what you've told me today, where the principles and the processes come in, I'm like, oh, this is how you got there, because you had those standards from a very early age.
It was, and like we talk a lot about, you hear a lot about guilt around generational wealth, right?
Yes.
And the disparity with generational wealth. And people say to me a lot of the times, like as a speaker after I speak, people go, "Oh, the adversity you've gone through because of your disability, you know, that this whole thing you've done so well." But I think most people have. Everyone has some sort of challenge they've gone through, right? We've all to build adversity, to build capacity, you have to go through challenges. I think the generational gift that I was given is not wealth, is the behaviours. And not everyone has that in their family. Yeah. And so I think I was actually set up for success more than someone that doesn't have my disability because of the values and behaviours that I was given by my parents. Mm-hmm. And I think as a leader now, I'm a leader across multiple domains, but where I feel the most amount of responsibility is as a parent.
Yes.
And being a parent. So I've taken the leadership that my parents gave me, and I've taken it sort of happened subconsciously because of there's no such thing as can't thing. I built these values and behaviours. I've realised that was the best, the thing that the output of that was my values and behaviours that I've learned as an athlete and as a businessman. So now I teach my kids the values and behaviours consciously. So before they go to bed every night, they say, "I am brave, mm-hmm. I'm inquisitive, I'm grateful, I'm kind, I'm happy." And then they say their name. "I'm Max Formston, I'm Elsie Formston, I'm Jake Formston," because that's their identity. That's what's linked to those values. Yeah. And that's the last thing they say before they go to sleep at night. But we don't just say the values, because anyone can just learn and say words. Yes. So and we're talking about my 7-year-old boy, my kids since their very early ages. I asked them, "Okay, so how have you been kind today? Give me an example of how you're kind. Are your friends being kind? Are you being a good leader? Like, are you calling your friends out if they're not being kind and helping them be kind? Like, are you, like in my movie, The Blind Sea on Netflix, we actually filmed that, and my daughter, and we literally, it wasn't set up, we just filmed it one night. Yeah. And I asked her about bravery. I said, "How are you being brave?" And she talked about how she's brave. And I think if I can teach them to be experts at values and behaviours, they will be successful in whatever they choose to do in life.
So when I was reading your book, that takes me back to you being on the sports field, and how there's quite a few stories where you had friends that you really didn't call friends anymore because they did something that broke your trust. Yeah. And I can see putting these values in your kid, and the kind thing as well. There were people that were kind to you, and there were people that were assholes. Yeah. And like, I can see all of these things you're talking about now, knowing your story, going, "Oh, that's where that comes from. That's that learning." And it makes it, I can see why it's such a passion. Yeah. Lived experience.
Yeah, it is a passion for me. And I think it really, like, if you get that trust element right, you get the values and behaviours right, and they're all agreed across the team and everyone knows what they are, then when you do the tactical things, like the actual doing of whatever you are doing in your business, in your team, that will then, it would just be high performance. It has to be, because when everyone agrees to what the standard is, and they hold those standards, you will then create the right strategy. It would and then everyone aligns to the strategy. They trust the leadership. They trust that leadership have the right strategy. They'll do the work. If they don't trust leadership, they're not going to do the work, right? It's like, what are they going to change next week? Like, the market changes. I know every time the market changes, leadership changes strategy, and we just move in a different direction. I can't trust that I'm going to be doing the same thing next week, so why work hard on it? Yes. Whereas if every people trust that the leadership's locked in to the strategy and they're not going to move with the market, they're just going to lock into what we're doing, then the people will keep doing the work.
Love that.
Bang.
Consistency. Yeah.
Matt, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us here on the show. You are an inspiration to everyone. Congratulations on all the success you've had. And I look forward to getting a copy of the book and reading it myself.
I can't wait to finish the other half now, because I thought, I've got all the juicy bits from the story. Now I'm like, no, I get to learn and put the work in now.
Yeah, well, I know the first half of is hard reading, because we haven't got into it. I got bullied really badly, and that's what you're referring to as a kid. Yeah. Like, how many fingers am I holding up? Yeah. Run into branches. Kids would just delete my work. Yeah. It was hard, but when you get through the first half, that's the hard bit. You get onto the fun bit of world titles in cycling and surfing and big wave surfing and all the fun stuff.
Yeah, can't wait. Yeah. Thank you.
Matt, thank you for coming on. Guys, we're going to take a quick break. Kate and I'll be back after a word from our sponsors.
Luna.co is a great place for you and your business to start off with phenomenal accounting and legal services. So if you're a startup or a scale-up looking for legal and finance support, or alternatively looking to raise capital, weareluna.co is where you need to be starting off.
Kate,
I knew you would love this one.
so
I
not
knew
only
it.
do I love it, but like, I think I need to go out, get the book, and I probably won't put the book down.
And the
until-
Netflix.
And then jump on Netflix and watch the surf, and then just
The
dive
blind
into
sea.
more. Oh my Lord.
Yeah, I was reading the book and couldn't put it down, so I only started reading Monday. What's today? Wednesday.
Wednesday.
No wonder I haven't slept.
Wow.
It's amazing. It's
Wow.
amazing, and I didn't know what the principles were going to be because I haven't got through all of that. But now knowing the story, I'm like, oh, I get that, and yeah, it's a great read.
Well, like, thank you for bringing Matt on the show. You put these things into my calendar and say, this is the guest coming on. I'm genuinely in awe, like
Yeah,
really
it's
in awe.
amazing.
So
Yeah.
I look forward to looking at all of that. And I'm going to link all of the details in the show notes below. Guys, check it out. Thanks, Kate. See you on the next one.
See you then.
All right.